So what we're looking at here is part of a purchase. This is what we've already bagged up and sorted. The date from the late 1940s all the way up into, I think, 1970 something is the newest one in here. I got probably 3 times what you see right here that hasn't been sorted through this, just loose. So there's probably roughly 11 or 12,000. Hey, it's Don. Today we're going to talk about a pickup that I have, and this is just part of it. We're going to talk about where I got it, how much I have into it, and the best way to list something like that. I'm basically just rolling the dice on these here, and we're going to explain what that means in the strategy on doing something like this. Now, this is just part of 11 or 12,000 item pickup that we had not too long ago. So what we're looking at here is part of a purchase. This is what we've already bagged up and sorted, and they're matched. So you've got, some of them have like the neck label and then the label to the bottle. These are all wine labels, the date from the late 1940s all the way up into, I think, 1970 something is the newest one in here. I got probably 3 times what you see right here that hasn't been sorted through this, just loose. So there's probably roughly 11 or 12,000 individual labels. Pairs. So you'd have the neck label and then the bottle label as one unit. So, and there's probably 11 or 12,000 we're figuring. I mean, this little bunch here, I think, was 100 or so. Some of these are listed. These are up right now, up until, up till here. I've got to start listing or finish listing those. What we've been doing is pulling through them and scanning with a duplex scanner what can be scanned. Now, these are some of the ones that I've went through right here, just random labels. There are some U.S. ones in here, but for the most part, they're vintage German labels. Again, there's like 11 to 12,000 individual labels in here. No exaggeration whatsoever. There's probably 50 or more just in this one little envelope, maybe even more than that. It's pretty thick. So again, they're sorted somewhat the best we could do by brand and stuff. So what we're doing is we're pulling out the ones that don't have neck labels, because we had a bunch, hundreds and hundreds, if not 1,000 or more, probably already, that are only the label and not a neck label. So those can be scanned without any issue. We cannot scan the neck label through a duplex scanner because they're odd sizes. These will not go through the scanner. And as you can see, there's 3 of the exact same one. Now, you're going to get the question, where the heck would you find something like this? I bought collections like this, I don't know, 20, 30 times, maybe more than that. It takes some work. It takes a lot of hunting. It takes a lot of conversations. It takes a lot of wasted time trying to get in contact with people who don't know anything, and it just wasted time. How do you price these? How am I going to list these is another big question with stuff like that. To be honest with you, none of these probably, I might get 1 out of 1,000 that I might find on eBay. Maybe 2 or 3, but not more than that. For the most part, they're all going to be some oddball wine label that no one thought to list or didn't assume was worth anything, or they're all stuck on the bottle and ruined. Now, some of these came from printers, very obviously, just by looking at them. That's why there's sometimes 5 and 6 and 8 and 10 of the same one with the neck label. Not usually. Most of the time, there's 2 or 3. There's, I think, 3 of this identical one in this little packet here. See if we can get it out where you can see the same kind of label and everything. And that's typical. Some of these could be salesman samples. Some of these could have been acquired by the collector who I bought them from a warehouse or something. You know, to be honest with you too, these are extras from someone's collection. You know, these are just purchases that they made that turned out to be extra. Now, price-wise would be another question I get. You know, what kind of price would you pay for something like this? Now, I paid $150 for them all. So I've got, you know, almost nothing into each individual one. I have to sell some to get my time back. I'm going to invest probably 4 or 5 hours just to do a test run on them, and that's labor that's going out the window. We're going to list out of what we see here probably a couple hundred and just see what happens individually. There's some nice looking labels. I've played with labels before on many different occasions, so I have had labels and we've made thousands, probably tens of thousands of dollars on labels, but it's a roll of the dice with them. We're just going to price them all at the same price. We're starting most of them off at $22.50 each. They're easy to list. You can easily list 35 to 40 of these in an hour, and that includes your scan time, because again, we're using a duplex scanner, so scanning 100 or so labels, which is what's probably in this section here, takes maybe, geez, a minute. You know, you just feeding a machine is the basics of it. Obviously, as I said, there's 4 or 5 hours probably and some sort time. To me, it's interesting. I love sorting through these. In the years that we've been selling labels, and I've been selling labels for a very, very, very long time, probably 20 years of labels, you get an eye for the more colorful ones, the ones that will be appealing. German ones are almost always the ones that we do the best on. I usually can buy them in lots of like a couple thousand, 3,000, 4,000, semi-often, you know, a couple times a year, 3, 4 times a year. Now that may not sound like a whole bunch of purchases for big, huge lots, but 3 or 4 times a year for thousands at the same time, that pretty much takes you up the entire year plus just to go through them and list them. Like I said earlier too, I'm not going to find 99.99% of these on eBay anywhere. I won't find them on any site. I won't find them anywhere to price them. There won't be any auctions of individual labels up anywhere on the net that I am aware of ever. And I'll just be pricing them, throwing out some random prices. Sure, there could be ones that are worth more money than the rest and could sell for 40, 50, 60 bucks. You know, that's the chance I'm going to take. Again, luck of the draw. I'm going to roll my dice and see what happens. But you've got to look at the time it would take you to look up 11 or 12,000 labels. And just to pull out maybe 50 that might go for 60 bucks, you just do better off, instead of spending, you know, hours upon hours upon hours just listing them. Your loss won't be very much. You'll come out far ahead by not looking them up on stuff like this. Some of these I have a little bit of an insider. I've been in labels for a very long time, so I personally don't have a problem with being able to sort through these, at least by visual, by name. Again, we've been selling labels for like 20 years. So something like this is not a daunting task to us. It's fun. I like looking at the artwork, the imagery. You know, I mean, this is just spectacular in my book here. The Three Cavaliers. It's a nice looking, you know, knights. Lots of keywords to throw in there. And again, that's typical of these sorts of things. There's several of the same ones here. Yeah, there's several of them. Same exact one. There's another dupe. Some of these did come off bottles, as I can see. Here's the neck and the bottle part. It's one with a lovely Cupid. So, I mean, they're spectacular in looks. They're early. Sometimes they're Italian. Sometimes they're, you know, high-end, you know, American-made. But for the most part, most all of these are German. These are the ones that I would say would sell. Some of these, like Smith's Sons, some of these have been around for, geez, a very long time. Here's like one of the newest ones. It's 1982 from California. Bosca, Canier, and there's a couple of those. Here's an 82 again. Here's a 79 Villabanif. And you can look up some of these, and you might be surprised on you know, the history on some of these sorts of things. To me, this is like, you know, paper gold. Now, these may not look like much to the average person, but this is someone's, you know, years of time to collect and sort through and you know, acquire these. They're, you know, uncommon now. You don't find these laying around anymore at all. There's probably not much of the actual product itself still sitting in a bottle. It's probably all been drunk at one time, I guess I'll call it. So, Saar, that's Germany too. So there's some really nice labels. Well-known company, Adolf Mueller. So again, it's a nice looking lot across the board. This is just one little packet here. Now, what also happens a lot too is I'm just going to put these up. I may sell a couple right away. I may not. These may sit. I may list hundreds of these without selling a bunch anytime soon. But what will happen is a collector will come by, and he'll buy a whole bunch of them all at the same time. This type of purchase are the ones that give us the largest single purchases we usually ever have. They may buy 60, 100, 150 labels. And those are legitimate amounts that we've sold for this type of purchase, because the collector's going to want to fill his gap. When he sees ones that he wants and they're reasonably priced, $22.50, I think I said we would start these at. they're going to buy a bunch. And we discount them, so they're down 40% after they've been up for a little length of time. So they're reasonable, and we still allow offers. I have nothing into individual ones. I only have to sell, like 10 or 15 just to get the money back out of them. The rest is just time lost on them. So once we've sold a few of them, boom, we're already set. And that's usually what happens. Every time I've sold these, that's what's happened in the past. One of my biggest sales of labels was for wine labels. They were much older, from the 1880s, 1890s, even going back to the 1870s and 60s. I love labels. We've sold labels going back to the 1820s era before. 1860s, 70s labels aren't super common, but we do turn those up as well. There's shows for paper and collectibles like this. There's wine connoisseur events in most local towns, and a lot of those people may have collections. There are swap places where some of the bigger towns will have places that will get together, people get together, and they'll swap extra labels. You know, there's people who do that through the mail still today for many different things, even trade cards and postcards and things like that. You know, it's like a correspondence collector society almost to some extent. There's really some very nice artwork in these sorts of things. There are places to find them. You know, I've even sold entire books of them in the past myself. I've probably got 2 or 3 other collections that I haven't even touched yet sitting on a shelf over here too. So this is one of the newer ones. This one's one of the ones that should get us a pretty good chunk of change at the end of the day. It's a long-term investment. At the end of the day, though, at some point, there's going to be some collectors coming by to buy these, and they'll scoop up a whole bunch at once. Even if they're discounted down to $10 a pop, you know, $10 times 10,000 or more, that would be, you know, in the sellable range. There might be a couple thousand that may not sell. We're going to do test runs, as I said, and just see what happens. I'm rolling the dice on these because I have very little into them, and I'm looking at the big picture. What's going to happen at the end of the day? Well, there you have it. That's just a little bit of a breakdown on these. At the end of the day, we should make several $1,000s in profit after everything is all said and done. It may take a few years to do that. I am not concerned in any way, shape, or form. We should get our money back relatively quickly once we put volume up online. Again, I've done this routine many times in many different categories. Basically, it's a flood the market with your items type of routine, listing thousands of them up. You'll take up the entire category of vintage wine labels on eBay, and almost everybody out there who's into labels will see them. Free advertisement. The more items you have up, the more free advertisement you will get just by having your footprint across on eBay, the web, and the whole works. That's the game plan with these, and we should do extremely well for our minimal investment. You have to have the money to be able to invest, to be able to sit there, though, and the time and energy to list them. But anyway, that's what I have for you today. Hopefully that gave you some ideas, some thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell all your friends.
Know how I save money? With unsweetened Kool-Aid and sugar, just like my mom did. I remember how she'd mix a big pitcherful. Kool-Aid was so good and so inexpensive. It's still as delicious as ever. Today, with my sugar, it's about 12 cents a quart. Has vitamin C, too. I like giving Kathy what my mom gave me.
Kool-Aid brand soft drink mix and your sugar. You loved it as a kid, you trust it as a mother.